Oh, oh, look at you sitting there. You're jealous again, aren't you? You're jealous because you're on the Clark the Shark Show, 1-800-449-8255, baby. And you can't stand it. You're frustrated, you're mad, you're angry. And you want to hear some Black Flag. Jealous again. And, even if you're not from the South Bay, Redondo Beach, Torrance, Hermosa Beach, our little punk rock, indie rock, alternative rock enclave, if you will, all over America. You could be from Boston or Detroit or wherever, Seattle. That horrible, lame place, Seattle. And if you like abrasive, angry, grungy garage noise, you're gonna love you some Black Flag. And you're gonna love Jealous again. This is my favorite Black Flag project. And sometimes I feel like, I've thoroughly listened to them all. And it's like weird because this album doesn't have Keith Morris or Henry Rollins singing. It's got Chavo, Pederast, Ron Reyes. And it's such a weird album because it looks like Black Flag pieced this together or something. I don't know if they thought Chavo was going to stay in the band or what. But Keith Morris went off, of course, and became just a legend with the Circle Jerks. And, eventually he got back with Flag. Now, remember, legally, you can't call them Black Flag. They are Flag with Keith Morris. And practically everybody that was ever in Black Flag is involved in the project today known as Flag. I don't know if they're still going in 2023. They probably are. Or maybe they're plotting a new tour. But I still love Greg Ginn because, I jam with the guy. I've met the guy. I've talked to him. He's just so weird. He's just so, like, genius, though. He's a weirdo to talk to. It almost seems like he's always stoned or just out of his mind or something. He's like kind of like Jeff Spicoli, from Fast Times, but not really. He's more genius and like he also has this alertness about him. And then he has like this family man thing, no pun, where he's a really responsible guy too. It's all in the package that is the Swiss Army knife known as Greg Ginn. And his guitar playing is just so influential, legendary. The way he plays these little leads that come exploding out of the rhythm, oh, that definitely had just a tremendous impact on me, Clark the Shark from the Greenhouse Effect. I wanted to be Greg Ginn from the time I was in GE playing drums and singing lead from the drums in the three-piece, of course, with Carmody on bass and then the amazing legend Phil Keegan. All those years we were playing, I wanted to come up front and play guitar, but I was like, I gotta be in a three-piece. It can't have two guitarist. It's got to be one. I mean, I was a purist like that. And in my brain, I was like, if I'm ever the guitar player in GE or some three-piece, I want it to be like the James Gang or Cream or, like the Who. Think of the Who without Roger Daltrey. They're basically just an incredible three-piece band. Well, not really, but think about it. When you go to see The Who, all that noise is coming from Pete, Entwistle, and Mooney. And I wanted a band like that. And I think, when I got with Greg Tarpley in the South Bay, that drummer was amazing. And me and Ted, it was very tight. When we played with Greg Tarpley, check out the Hermosa Saloon live Greenhouse Effect video, especially where we play Waiting for Your Love to Fail, which is so influenced by Greg Ginn and Black Flag, at 1-800-449-8255, the Clark the Shark Show, from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkraphone. Well, today it's a flagraphone because, I wouldn't be here today. I would just be like dead or something. Or there's just something about listening to plenty of Black Flag. They're just so angry, confused, and twisted, and they really mean it. Where some punk bands are trying to be angry, like the Clash are trying to be angry. Social Distortion is trying to be something, or X, and all those bands are cool. The Angry Samoans are really good. I love their interplay within that band. But I'm not knocking any of those bands. They're all great. But there's something that makes Black Flag, the project, a cut above. Now, Greg Ginn, just an amazing guitar player. He's just incredible. And he's really into the Grateful Dead, you guys. He loves them. And he loves all kinds of music, just like me, Clark the Shark. He's very eclectic. He's into just all kinds of shit. And certainly not just punk rock. But there is no more angry, pissed off, out of tune psycho. Just his guitar is so explosive. The way the leads, he doesn't really play leads in the traditional sense, like he'll just start shredding a lead. But his lead and his rhythm are one. They are fused together in unison, in conjunction, in tangent or something. It's so amazing the way Greg Ginn plays. And of course, there's something to be said for all the other people in Black Flag: Robo, Bill Stevenson, Chuck Dukowski. Now, a lot of you may or may not know this, but I, Clark the Shark, I always wanted to be in Black Flag or something, but, I was like, I'm just not punk enough or something. I'm not really a legit punker because I love Led Zeppelin and all that shit. The Who, Deep Purple, and the Beatles. And, when I talk to punkers, they're like, dude, I love the Mamas and the Papas and the Sunshine Company, bro. What's wrong with that? And I'm like, really? It's okay to love just worthless, lame shit like Clark the Shark, the way I'm into the Bee Gees. And they're like, dude, totally. Be into whatever, man. Punk rock does not exclude. And of course, 30 years ago, 30, 40 years ago now, way back in the 80s, early 90s, I was still like, man, I love music, all music. And there's something about styles, like punk or country or jazz, where you're in an official style in a band that I don't like. Me, when I play with the Greenhouse Effect, GE, Clark the Shark wants to do everything. I'm kind of like Paul McCartney on the White Album. I want to do show tunes, like Henry Nilsson or Harry Nilsson. Henry? I'm thinking of Henry Rollins here. But I want to do everything. I want to not just do punk or metal or garage. I want to do, some stupid jazzy, lame show tune, or something with these goofy backing vocals, or something that sounds like The Who, or something that sounds like Deep Purple, or something that sounds like the Beatles, or, Freddie and the Dreamers, or whatever, or just anything. Tennessee Ernie Ford, I don't give a flying fuck. Shit, whatever. Clark the Shark is a Swiss Army knife and with a man with many hats, and I just want to try everything. But baby, when I try on some Black Flag, I get angry when I hear this. And even now at age 57, going on 58, on April 27th of this year, 2023, Black Flag and Greg Ginn still make me angry. And of course, I couldn't get into Black Flag as the lead singer or any of that. Black Flag was breaking up around, 1985, 86, 87. And Greg Ginn was forming all these new projects like, Gone, which I would have loved to have been a part of Gone. And then this other thing called Gintronics, and I don't know if where that ever went, but Tom Shannon from Death and Taxes, down in Redondo Beach, he gave me all these hot tips on where I can run into Henry Rollins or where I can run into Robo or where I can run into Greg. And I don't know if it was in Hawthorne or Lawndale or where, but just by chance, maybe I went to Guitar Center in Torrance, or I just bumped into Tom Shannon from Death and Taxes somewhere, and he said, "Hey, Clark the Shark, Greg Ginn is going to be at such and such at 3:30. And I'm like, dude, and the next thing I knew, I was talking to Greg Ginn, and I'm like, dude, let's jam. I hear you're looking for a drummer. You got to hear me drum, man. And long story short, me and Greg Ginn jammed, and it was an incredible jam. It was really great, and there was some engineer guy there that like recorded it too, and said it was great, and it was really great. We played for like 3 hours, and it was incredible. And at the very end of it, as legend has it, Greg just said, Clark the Shark, you're one-dimensional drummer. You're not that great. And I was a little in shock, but I was also like, yeah, he's right, because just like Pete Best, I only know a few downbeats and 4/4 beats, and and I play them over and over, and I utilize them well. And when I'm playing with the Greenhouse Effect with Phil Keegan, his big blaring leads and solos, it just covers me up. I'm still there, sounding great. Of course, everyone in the South Bay says Clark the Shark is just the greatest drummer all over Redondo, Torrance. And I've even been up in Hollywood, Los Angeles, and been at the Whiskey or the Roxy or the Rainbow Room, and just some random dude is like, "You, Clark the Shark, you're the greatest." And I'm like, "Wow, dude, thanks. I don't even know," I'm like, I don't even know. I mean, really, the thing with me on drums has gotten out of hand. I mean, I'm a good drummer, but anyone can play drums if you sit down with a metronome at 1-800-449-8255. It might be true that maybe you can't be as powerful on drums as like Clark the Shark, the way I copy Keith Moon or John Bonham or whatever, or Neil Peart. But I tell you, man, if you practice drums and you hit them hard and you're crazy enough and insane, you too can get good on drums, just like Clark the Shark at 1-800-449-8255 from the fabulous golden EIB Sharkerphone. But, through Greg Ginn, I met up with Chuck Dukowski, and I became the lead singer of SWA, a band I loved. And somewhere out in like Torrance or Gardena, when I would jam with SWA, they would lock the door, and we would be in there playing, and I would literally improvise. I learned the songs by SWA, and I was singing them. But I was so dedicated to the Greenhouse Effect that I actually told Chuck Dukowski one night on the phone, I said, "Dude, I'm going to stay with my band, and I'm not going to stay with SWA." I think I was only with these guys like 3 or 4 months, but it was really incredible. The drummer of the project, really a great guy. Great. 4 guys jamming in a room. We jammed for quite a time, and I was just lead vocal. No guitar, no drums. Singing next to my idol, Chuck Dukowski, in SWA. But sadly, it would end, and I don't know if I regret it or don't regret it, or I have no idea. But I went back to the Greenhouse Effect, and then, Phil Keegan and me and Ted would go separate ways after the Wilson Park show in September of 1990. And then next thing I knew, I was in my dream three-piece band where I was on guitar, and playing all those songs, you guys, like Ben is Dead and Star and all that. And it was great, with Marty Silva or Greg Tarpley or Pele, for about a year and a half, 91 and 92, I had the time of my life. Me, Clark the Shark, I was on lead vocals and guitar, and it was so amazing. And it was all influenced by this man right here, Greg Ginn and Milltown High. These two girls that are just jealous again. And of course, I love this cover. It's so amazing. I love all SST album covers. They're just so funny. Ray Pettibon, who is Greg Ginn's brother. They're brothers, like Ray and Dave, but I think they get along. But I love it. Just this girl just pulling her hair. She just wants to beat the other girl of Milltown High. Just jealous again, And on the back, of course, there's the guy shot in the head, and the girl, the cheerleader's like, before you die, promise you'll always love me. All Music gives it a 3. I mean, come on, dude. This is my favorite Black Flag. It's actually not an album. It's just an EP, but to me, this is an album. And the song Jealous Again, great guitar by Greg Ginn. So amazing. Really angry, Chavo. And I don't know how many of you know this. I'm sure a lot of you do, but Chavo and Greg Ginn would reassemble Black Flag in 2013 to make an album. And I'm going to review that album because I really like it. I don't like it as much as Jealous Again. Of course not. But it's fucking amazing. To hear Greg Ginn playing with Chavo Pederast again, Ron Reyes, it's awesome. And I love Jealous Again. The song Revenge is fucking awesome. Of course, White Minority, the classic. And No Values, classic, man. Classic. And of course, the song, like, You Bet We Got Something Against You. That's a Chuck Dukowski lead vocal, baby. On this little EP, but it's like my favorite Black Flag album. Because it's so pissed off, it's so angry, and it's so, like, I loved it. I had to buy this album twice. I bought it at Go Boy down in Redondo Beach. I don't know if I ever found this at the Rhodium, but I loaned out my copy of Jealous Again to someone, and it was gone. So I bought this album, I think, at Go Boy Records in Redondo Beach. I bought it twice. That's right, me, Clark the Shark, at 1-800-449-8255. And I would crank this thing in headphones, or not headphones. I would just blast it down in the dungeon at 251 Paseo de Gracia, Redondo Beach, 90277, baby. I'm sure Bill Watt from Prop 13 loved this too. And my good buddy Mike O'Brien, he had every Black Flag album, and we would listen to him down in Redondo off Prospect and El Camino Real, right where it ends, near Brookside. Oh, Brookside, condos, apartments, where you go and you hope to meet a girl in that jacuzzi back in the 80s. And I met Minnie, me, Clark the Shark, met a girl named Lori in the jacuzzi at Brookside. All kinds of wild partying happened at Brookside Village in Redondo, corner of El Camino Real, that turns into Sepulveda, of course, and Prospect Avenue. But across the street on Prospect lived Mike O'Brien, who was a Grateful Dead head, a Greg Ginn fanatic, and he loved Black Flag, and he was just a punk rock maniac. And him and me just loved to play Black Flag, and we formed a band called Repeated Beating, where I hit the drums and he just made this noisy, out-of-tune guitar that was just so much like Greg Ginn, but it was just horrible. And of course, him and me and Tom Shannon from Death and Taxes, we would be Repeated Beating, and it would be amazing, just an amazing band of just noise rock. And I'm sure Greg Ginn would have loved it, man. We played Madame Wong's, our one and only gig, and it was fucking incredible. We each traded instruments. Before the gig was over, I had played bass, guitar, and drums. All three of us did. And it was amazing, repeated beating. But it was all totally influenced by Black Flag and the awesome guitar work of Greg Ginn, this diverse variety guy who's a very confused and funny guy, too. I haven't talked to Greg Ginn in like 35 years, since like 1986 or 87. I think I may have talked to him in 88. And I would run into Henry Rollins, like in Music Plus down at Hermosa or wherever, and talk to him. And I just love Henry Rollins' poetry, man, and his books like 21361. I really love Henry Rollins' poetry. It goes so good with Black Flag. But there's something to be said for Chavo, Ron Reyes, on this album, which I consider an album. It's just an EP, but to me, the two first Black Flag albums, like, I was having a nervous breakdown, just, I love all Black Flag, TV Party, all of it, the process of weeding out. Some of it gets a little too noisy, but the anger and just the rage and the controversy back in the day with the cops, and the gigs were so scary you literally couldn't go to them. I saw like Husker Du, and that was a gnarly gig, but they're a great band. Man, they were incredible. Better band than Black Flag, technically, but not as angry and pissed off as Black Flag. No way, man. Greg Ginn, when he picks up a guitar, he's just incredible, and he's so angry and pissed off. And Chavo Pedrist, Ron Reyes, so pissed off. Keith Morris is plenty pissed off, you guys, don't worry. And so is Rollins and everybody in this band. But I could never decide who I like more, Robo or Bill Stevenson or Kira or Chuck. I just love them all. Dez, I even love Dez. I mean, to me, the Dez thing is kind of cheesy, but it's still got this raw, natural anger. Of course, I love Dez Cadena much more in DC3 and all his other projects that are like progressive, psychedelic, weirdo rock. But, for one great, amazing album, the Yellow Album, Black Flag, Jealous Again, Milltown High, Before You Die, promise you'll always love Shark, you guys out there. Because you just got the most amazing review of these four people, Ron Reyes and Greg and Chuck. Man, I love Chuck. Genius. Robo, really tight, great drummer. They're all great. Black Flag, they're incredible musicians. It may sound sloppy, not tight or crazy to some people, but if you've got that South Bay, Redondo Beach, Torrance, white boy rage in Los Angeles, man, you're going to love Black Flag. And Jealous Again will be your favorite album. Just like it's my favorite Black Flag album. The first one's really good. I love Keith Morris, man. I even checked out Flag with Keith Morris, the recent Flag tour. And I was like, man, it's really angry and they're kicking ass. They're all really so good in Flag. It's just a shame that all this legal mumbo jumbo happened where everyone hates Greg or everyone makes fun of Greg. But I predict all the people in Black Flag, it's going to be like Yes, Union. When Steve Howe and Trevor Rabin and all of them, John Anderson, they're all together in Union. I predict that someday Black Flag will have a Union tour with everyone in Flag, and then everyone, Henry Rollins, Chavo, Greg, there'll be like 13, 14 people on stage, and it will be the Black Flag Union. At 1-800-449-8255 on the Clark the Shark Show. And I'll go, man. I'll pay the $300 tickets to go see Black Flag Union at the Staples Center or wherever they play. And that will be interesting, man. Just seeing like 13 people on stage, Black Flag. It's just a stage that just gets smashed where everyone's just breaking things and it's just angry and it's just so brutal and stressed out and volatile. I love it. Black Flag Union Tour 2024, brought to you by John Anderson and Chris Squire. Come on, you guys, get together and unify. Everyone, let's get rid of this flag versus Black Flag nonsense. You know, all the lawyers, all the legalistic legal eagles. It's just so sad and ironic that something as beautiful and natural and angry and spontaneously pissed off as Black Flag would end up just in a corporate lawsuit in the U.S. court system, where you got this judge that's like, no, Greg doesn't even own the term Black Flag. And even the other guys in Flag were like, dude, he's Greg Ginn, he owns SST. I mean, for even like Chuck Dukowski and Keith Morris were like, you guys, hey, judge, we're not... What? Dude, Greg is Black Flag. We all admit that. You know, we want to play gigs, and Greg was suing him or whatever. I don't even know, but I want to see Black Flag 2024 World Tour Union. Everybody, Daz, Greg, Henry, everyone, Chuck, Kira, Robo, I don't even care if they're dead or alive. People are coming back. Bill Stevenson, everyone. And then Clark the Shark will be there. I'm going to be the MC. And I'm going to be, are you ready to rock out there, Staples Center? Because I got a band for you. I'll be like the Bobcat Goldthwait MC. And I'll introduce to all of you, live from Los Angeles, Black Flag Union, the tour of these guys, plus 8 other guys. The tickets brought to you by Ticketmaster for $600. But you're going to be there. You're going to support Black Flag. Jealous again, you guys. Buy this album. Buy everything by Black Flag. Support Greg Ginn. Go on Amazon, Spotify, iTunes, wherever. Ripple Tunes, Napster. I don't care where you buy Black Flag. But if you're listening to Clark the Shark, right here on the Clark the Shark Show, from the golden EIB Sharker phone, that's right, baby. The Wolfman Jack on crack, motherfucker. Black Flag. I want you to buy it and go see both bands. Go see Greg's version and go see Chuck and all those guys and Keith Morris too, because to me, it's all one band. It's all one big happy, unhappy, dysfunctional family. Black Flag. I love it. Clark the Shark coming to you directly from South Central Los Angeles. Talking about my old stomping grounds, the South Bay, Redondo Beach, Torrance, Hermosa Beach, Lomita, all those great record stores like Go Boy and the Rhodium in Torrance, where I would buy me great albums, just like Black Flag. Jealous again. And man, I'm not ashamed to say I bought this album twice, because who ripped off my record collection? So many people have filched it in the South Bay and just taken records. I know my nephew Fu, Forrest Kelly, he lost some of my records, probably 100 of them, or other people too. They, when I moved down to San Diego, a lot of my shit got left back at 251 underneath in the gold mine, in the dirt part, the crawl space, down with the dungeon. And a lot of my albums ended up in there. And then they demolished that house. So I hope my album collection didn't get demolished. The rumor I'm hearing is many of the albums are on Newton Street near Calimere at some house. And I hope so. It'd be awesome for me just to hear my Clark the Shark vinyl collection again. I got a huge CD collection now that's massive. And I've got me some Black Flag on CD, but you gotta hear Black Flag on an old scratchy vinyl, like the ones I would buy down in Redondo Beach at Go Boy, or down in Hermosa Beach at Music Plus. down there on Sepulveda or wherever, Zed Records or Peanut Records in Lomita. Oh, the memories and the nostalgia that Clark the Shark brings you. There was some record store in San Pedro that I really loved. There were a few down there back in the 80s. Oh, the stories Clark the Shark can tell you about buying punk vinyls. I had a beautiful punk vinyl of the Germs and all these other bands. And I love them, man, but I don't love any band more than Black Flag because Greg Ginn is just amazing. Great guitar player. Robo's amazing. I love Chavo on this album. To me, this album is special. It's better than the first one, and in many ways, it's better and more superior than all the Henry Rollins albums. Even when Henry Rollins and Black Flag start getting into, movies and shit, they really hit the big time, There's references to them, in Repo Man and all kinds of shit. And I'm sure they made some money back in the 80s. But to me, Clark the Shark, I liked it when Black Flag were just guys in a garage around Torrance or wherever they were jamming, Harbor City, and they were making just EPs like Jealous Again. And the girls from Milltown High, these two girls, watch out for them, they'll kill you. She's got a gun, it's a real gun. At Milltown High, she's beating the other girl. And the guy is like, come on, you guys, don't shoot me, Sharky. Before you kill me, just tell Sharky you love me at 1-800-449-8255. And you just got the only nostalgia and the only memories and the only review you'll ever need of this angry, abrasive, pissed off, sandpaper grinding guitar, tight drums, angry singing. This beautiful album. I love the beautiful anger they capture. And Mike O'Brien, man, wherever you are, keep playing your Black Flag, dude. And Tom Shannon from Death and Taxes, God rest his soul, he died long ago, but he would turn me on to the greatest music. Captain Beyond and all kinds of fucking amazing shit. But nothing was more amazing than Black Flag. I already knew about Black Flag, South High in 1980, when I was 15 or even 14 at Newton in eighth grade, dude. But, I'm grateful to know guys like Tom Shannon, Mike O'Brien, Carl, my good buddy Carl, lived on Zacon, right near South High in Calimere. All the people, dude. Steve Stepanian, great guitar player. Phil Keegan. Oh, man, all of us, man. All the people around the South Bay that playing punk. Everybody, man. We all look up to Black Flag, and we all look up to Greg Ginn as the leader. Man, he really is. He really was. And he started his own record company, do-it-yourself style. Amazing company, SST, and I would mail them my tapes of the Greenhouse Effect, and they never responded. But Greg Ginn did respond to me in some article, like an interview, where he said, there's people who just don't understand my label. And I think he was referring to me, Clark the Shark, and I'm like, dude, if you only knew how well I understand your label and your band, Black Flag, and your anger, dude, your spontaneous rage, and the way your guitar explodes. Let me tell you, dude, there's two guitarists that influence me, Clark the Shark. One of them is Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, and the other one is Greg Ginn. And the way both of them have leads that explode out of their rhythm, it's very similar. But nobody can really do it like Greg Ginn. But I would like to think me, Clark the Shark, on Ben is Dead and Waiting for Your Love to Fail and Star, I would love to think that I can explode a lead out of a rhythm the way that Greg Ginn can. At 1-800-449-8255, The Clark the Shark Show. Buy this amazing album and crank it loud and bang your head to Black Flag, baby. Because this is the soundtrack to me, Clark the Shark, when I was just 16. 1981 at South High. 17, 1982 South High. Oh, man. Going back to the days of jamming at Steve Stepanion's garage at Nob Hill and Prospect, or jamming in Ted's room with O'Brien, or Ted and Flipper, whatever, man, down by El Retiro Park and Torrance Redondo Beach, down there, Vista del Parque. And the memories I have of us just in Ted's room, just drinking beers and listening to Black Flag and cranking it, man. Loving it. Loving those times, man. 58 now, and I'm looking back at 1988, 1987, 1986. We were bummed out when Black Flag broke up because, had Black Flag kept going back then, they would have been some corporate like Metallica. They'd have been on like MTV and turned into like Soundgarden. It wouldn't have been good. So I'm almost kind of grateful to God above, and I'm very happy that Black Flag did break up and dissolve and disintegrate. And then they came back in 2013. Interesting album with Greg Ginn and Chavo Pederast. Love Chavo. If Black Flag are touring, both bands, go see both. But I'm hoping for Union, me, Clark the Shark, 1-800-449-8255, The Clark the Shark Show. And this album, right here. Sharky's got something against you indeed.